outside sales versus digital marketing. In some cases, digital marketing can generate up to 250% more leads than outside sales. Why is this? I'm going to break it down and we're going to evaluate in two ways. Number one, we're going to look at cost per sale. And number two, we're going to look at the rate of lead generation that either outside sales can generate or digital marketing can generate. The first thing we need to think about, though, is what type of product, what type of service are we marketing here? What are we actually trying to sell? I'm going to give you two examples, two stories that are going to illustrate a couple different sides of this. The first one is a company called Rulmeca Corporation. Rulmeca Corporation manufactures a product called a motorized pulley that goes in conveyor systems for the mining industry, for the food service industry, and a whole lot of other industries. Their product is very innovative in that it uses technology that traditional pulleys do not in the context of conveyors. One of the challenges Rulmeca experiences in marketing their product is that before they are able to sell their product, they first need to educate about their product. One of the ways that they're doing that is through YouTube. They also rely on their outside sales force and setting up trade shows and things like that to promote their product. So they're doing all this to educate. And so they're essentially bringing their customer from what we call the top of the funnel. So the top of the funnel is generally people that are not aware of what your product or service is. In order to bring them into the funnel, we need to educate them. We need to move them past that unaware point to awareness and all the way down to the bottom of the funnel where they're actually ready to purchase the product. What we also find about this stage of the funnel, this bottom stage of the funnel where people are ready to buy, according to some research out there, statistics say that there's only about 3% of your target market that exists in that buying stage, which means that there's a whole lot up there at the top of the funnel. And I'm going to get into what that means in terms of importance a little bit later in this video. But back to Rulmeca Corporation and their challenge in the market. So given Rulmeca's product, which is what we would also refer to as an immature product or a product that's new to market, education is extremely important. In these contexts, outside sales can be a more viable option for marketing and selling that product than digital marketing. Now, when I'm talking about digital marketing, I'm referring specifically to the one technique that I rely on most heavily and the one that I believe the most has application in the manufacturing space. And that technique is called search engine optimization, which is essentially just the process of getting ranked higher in search results for the terms that are going to bring you business. So search engine optimization works when people are physically looking for a product or service. They go to Google, they type it in, and bam, you show up. They click on your website, they fill out your request for quote form, or they purchase the product. So those individuals that are already kind of at the bottom of the product awareness funnel are great candidates for that type of marketing. So let's talk about a product or service that is mature, one that people in the market already know about, people that are already looking for, and let's compare outside sales versus digital marketing. So with an average search engine optimization campaign, just doing some research and kind of, obviously I'm involved in the industry and I have some awareness of what these things cost. I would say the average search engine optimization campaign, which we're referring to as a digital marketing technique, ranges between $2,500 per month and $5,000 per month. Respectively, an outside salesperson, just doing some research once again, is going to run you about $70,000 a year on average. Now, that $70,000 a year actually could turn into a whole lot more when you look at bonuses, look at travel expenses, dining, and all those sorts of things. But let's just stick with $70,000 a year. Now, if we turn the SEO cost into an annual cost, if it's $2,500 a month, you're looking at about $30,000 per year. If you are on the higher end of that and you're paying $5,000 a month, you're looking at about $60,000. So right off the bat, we're going the higher end of search engine optimization. We're comparing that with the lower end of the cost of a salesperson. You're looking at 60 versus 70. So let's talk about what those two can produce. In order to kind of demonstrate what search engine optimization can produce, I'll describe a customer of mine to you. This customer is a rubber molding manufacturer. And when they came to us, they were getting virtually no leads from the web. Today, after doing search engine optimization for about a year and a half, they're generating somewhere around 1 lead per day. Not all those are perfect, but a lot of them are. And they're getting a lot of great leads. Okay, so now let's look at outside sales. The average outside salesperson generates, if they're really good, they're going to make 50 to 60 calls per day. Now, if they're physically visiting facilities, kind of doing those walk-ins, you're not going to be able to hit nearly those numbers. But let's just say this individual is making 50 calls per day. So on average, you would expect about 1% of the individuals that salesperson reaches out to express some level of interest. Now, what we've also found, just kind of looking at the manufacturing space, talking to some manufacturers about what their close rate is on quoted jobs, we would expect about 10% of the individuals who expressed interest to turn into an actual customer. So we're saying 10% of the people that we issue a quote to turn into customers. So with that 50 to 50 calls per day for an entire year, the way that math breaks down is that salesperson is going to generate about 15 pieces of business per year. So you're going to get 15 new customers per year based on that salesperson's efforts. And that's also assuming that they're making 300, they're calling on 300 days per year. So now let's compare that to digital marketing. So with digital marketing, if we are generating 1 lead per day, we have 365 people that have filled out our lead form by the end of the year. Now, 10% of those, so we are skipping right past this idea of how many people are interested. Remember the 1% that are interested based on those calls. So we're skipping right past that because they've got to the website, they've filled out the lead form, they've already expressed interest. We can completely skip that phase. So now we take 1% of those, and then we end up with, or 10% rather, we take 10% of those 365, we end up with 36 new pieces of business per year. So for $60,000 and with the digital marketing, we get 36 new pieces of business per year. With the $70,000 the salesperson cost us, we get 15 new pieces of business per year. There's a blog article that's kind of attached to this video, and I'll, I put the link in there. You can check my math on this. I've been quite meticulous about it, but go ahead, take a read of the article, and you'll get a little bit more detail about it. So just from a strictly cost basis, digital marketing for the right product or service can be a more effective option for lead generation than an outside salesperson. Now, what I'm not trying to say in any way, shape, or form is that an outside salesperson is not needed in those cases. Because honestly, if you look at what 15 leads per year, or 15 new pieces of business per year, for most manufacturers, that is, that's going to generate some revenue. And it's probably going to generate a heck of a lot more revenue than what that salesperson cost you. But there's one other point I want you to consider here. So let's just say that you fired your salesperson. And let's just say that you didn't replace him with anyone. Okay. How much would that salesperson generate you the following year? It's a silly question, right? There is no lead generation the next year because he doesn't work for your company anymore, right? And the reason why I asked that silly question is, let's say that you stopped your search engine optimization campaign after a year, or after you got to the point where you're generating 1 lead per day. How much would the efforts and the budget that you put into that search engine optimization campaign generate you the next year? 1 lead per day. how much would it generate for you the next year? It would generate 1 lead per day. Because the bottom line is you achieved ranking for keywords that were bringing you business. And those efforts, that content still exists. Those backlinks still exist. And I understand I might be using terminology that some of you don't know. Once again, in the blog article, we'll talk a little bit more about this stuff. So once you've generated results from a search engine optimization campaign, the results are consistent and stable. Now, it isn't forever. You're going to have some diminishing returns over time, and it is important that you consistently add new content to your website and constantly put effort into these techniques. But you have a long-term residual value from search engine optimization, which makes it a really, really powerful thing. And it also makes it a little bit difficult to compare cost. To say, a salesperson cost me this, the digital marketing cost me that. Because when you're getting residual effect from it, you have that kind of depreciation over time. So just in simple terms, for a stable or a mature product or service, your digital marketing, especially search engine optimization, can have a much more powerful effect than the salesperson. But once again, remember, you don't have to choose between them. The salesperson is still doing a great job. And the other thing too is when you're getting leads from search engine optimization, who's closing those deals? You need somebody that has an in-depth knowledge, technical knowledge of your product or service, and can convince that person that reached out that you guys have the best product to buy. So your salesperson is always going to have an important role in your company. But what I really want to put this video out there for is to kind of emphasize the idea that digital marketing can serve a sales role. It can provide a ton of value there. And it is something that absolutely should not be ignored because it can supercharge the power of your sales team. So we really need to think about how digital marketing can fit into our marketing strategies. And it's especially important when you run a small company. If you're a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 person shop, a lot of times the owner, the president of that company is the one that's making the sales. That guy has limited time. And if you're watching this video, you know that your time is something that you have to invest in a lot of other things, supervising operation, things like that. And it is very time consuming to jump on the phone and, do 50, 60, 70 cold calls per day. That's exhausting and it's time consuming. So why not set something up where you're getting those leads just fed to you consistently? You don't have to pay anybody for them. They're just coming to you. They're finding you. That's really where you want to be. And the other great thing about these types of leads too is that when you are doing cold calls, you're going to visit facilities, you're jumping on the phone, you're spreading this huge net, trying to, hoping that you're going to get in front of somebody that is interested in what you have to offer. And, what we, statistically stated earlier is 1% of those calls may result in interest. So the other thing I like to talk about is the fact that interested person wasn't likely thinking about what you had to offer. They aren't, just because they're interested doesn't mean that they need you. So what we see in a lot of cases with outside sales is these extremely long lead times. So you made this contact, this person seemed interested, but it takes years before the need actually occurs. On the other hand, when someone Googles a term like rubber molding manufacturer or rubber molding manufacturer in Pennsylvania, what are the chances that they're going to need rubber molding manufacturing? Well, they're extremely high. So you're getting people at two completely different ends of the spectrum, of the funnel that we talked about earlier. So just to kind of recap the points that I've talked about today, we've got number one, you don't have to choose between outside sales and digital marketing. But if you do have to choose between them, digital marketing is probably the way to go. Number two, digital marketing and outside sales both really have function at different ends of the funnel. Now, there is overlap. Outside sales can function at the bottom of the funnel when people are ready to buy. But what we find, based on the fact that most of the calls we make are to people that are not interested now, means that most of our outside sales efforts occur at the top of the funnel, which means that when we are dealing with an immature product, new product to market, outside sales is very important because that is a top of the funnel phase. Whereas bottom of the funnel, digital marketing really tends to be the technique that's going to work for you. It's going to supercharge your marketing. And like I said, it can offer you 250% more leads for the same cost.
Thanks for watching this video. If you want more information about website design, digital marketing, how to generate more business for manufacturers, visit wecreate.com. Check out our blog. I have a ton of awesome content on there. A lot of information that's taken me years to develop and really understand, and you can get it for free and you can start to implement it today. If you're interested in having WeCreate work with you and help your company grow, we would be more than happy to have a conversation about that. Thanks a lot, and make sure you like, subscribe, follow.